Handle Your Business, a weekly podcast discussing a little of this and a little of that. Handle Your Business appropriately blends serious topics with fun topics, all in an effort to help you have a good or better life. So join me, your host, Lady Lashley, and some amazing guests every Sunday at 5 p.m. to explore everything from financial management to dealing with relationship challenges. Put it in your calendar every Sunday from 5 p.m. Tune in to Handle Your Business for a very helpful half hour to get you ready for the week ahead. For more details, follow at Lady Lashley TT on Instagram and Facebook. Handle Your Business. Welcome to another episode of Handle Your Business with yours truly, Lady Lashley. Today I am joined by Crystal Celestine. She is a financial advisor / financial coach, and we are going to be talking about today a very, very, very important topic to a whole lot of us, and that's managing personal debt. All right. Even before COVID-19, many of us, we had our own debt. We have our situation going on, and with the after effects of the pandemic, coupled with what many of us may still describe as the global economic downturn, many of us may be struggling, but guess what? That's why we have professionals, and we're calling on the professional. Hi, Crystal.
Hi.
And thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation to come on to this podcast episode so that we could talk about that. It is better when we have the experts in the house as opposed to me rambling on. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be a part of this podcast. And I am very passionate and have been over the last few years about sharing information when managing your finance is concerned. So I am just happy to be a part of this podcast today.
All right. So before we get started into the meat of the, of the discussion, give us a brief background of yourself, particularly in relation to the work that you do as a financial coach / financial advisor.
Okay, well, I would have recently started on this path of being a financial advisor and a finance coach. Before that, I would have been a teacher. I taught economics and accounting. So I've always been, involved in finance. When I realized that COVID had such a huge impact on persons around me, it just confirmed to me that this is what I needed to do. I needed to give persons information about how to be better at managing their finance. The opportunity for me to become an advisor opened up, and I took it, and I've just been on this path for the past 2 years. I've been focusing on helping persons to set up financial systems in order for them to meet their goals. And it has been a really interesting ride so far. Talking with persons every day, I get to realize how much we were not taught at school, how much, yes, we are taught, how to do this, algebra, trigs, all of these things, but there were just certain things as it pertains to finance that we were not really, taught.
Yeah.
So I have just been very passionate about financial literacy and getting that message throughout Tobago.
Well, and kudos to you for that, because undoubtedly Tobago, Trinidad, the CARICOM region, I dare say, we definitely need a whole lot of skills that you're offering, as many of us are struggling. The primary institutions don't necessarily equip us. The schools don't teach this kind of thing.
Right.
Parents aren't necessarily equipped because, of course, they came from backgrounds, that's no different to what we see now. But before we go into the financial systems and really managing, like I said, we're focusing on personal debt because that is a problem in our society. People are quick to take loans. We have some payday type loans in this place that killing this little island. But unfortunately, when people need to survive, they go after these easy things, not realizing how it can trap them. And so I want to ask you to talk about debt. What is debt? And then we could look at debt management.
All right. So the word debt, I just want to put it out there that debt is not necessarily a bad thing. What is bad is when we basically use debt to fund frivolous things, excuse me. Right now, when you borrow money from someone, that is debt in its simplest form, right? A lot of us, we go to financial institutions and we borrow a lump sum of money to do various things. When we engage in those types of activities, that is where we are getting into debt. So it's basically borrowing money and paying it back over time.
Right. And in terms of the management of debt, now you say it's not necessarily a bad thing, and we will come to that. But let's talk a bit about people who particularly are not able to manage debt. I have a credit card, I max it out, I barely pay the minimum balance. I have a credit card, I max it out, I am only paying the minimum balance. Talk to me a bit about managing that.
All right. So when we talk about managing debt, we're talking about coming to a point where we are ready to get our debt under control through financial planning and budgeting. When I talk to my clients about budgeting debt, I explain to them it's a season that you are entering into where strict discipline is required if we have to overcome this obstacle of debt. No. I like to think of managing debt as a financial diet, because we are getting into some practices where we have to seriously cut down on our spending, cut down on our expenses, and we have to find ways in which to increase our income to take care of that debt. Now, there are many ways that we can manage debt. I have clients who have as much as 6 different loans with different institutions. And one of the first thing we do is we look at their income to see how we are going to take care of this mountain of debt. We look at their expenses and then we see how much we can cut. There are some people who are going to the grocery every month. They're buying $2,000 worth of grocery, and then they're buying food every day. And all of these things we look at cutting in order to take care of debt. So there is the snowball method that I recommend to my clients. And the snowball method is where you basically look at all the debt you would have. We list them from smallest to largest debt, and we take the debt from the smallest one. We take care of that first, and then we use the resources that we would have been putting in that small one once it has been covered to then go to the next debt on that list. So that's the snowball method that we use. So we look at cutting costs in every single area of life as possible, what we could sell, what side jobs we could do, whose children we could babysit, whose hair we could plait, and we try to, divert as much funds as to paying off the debt as fast as possible. Now, remember I said it's a season. Some people don't really like the season of taking care of your debt because it requires a lot of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. But that's just one way that we look at trying to manage that. There are several others. There's the avalanche method, and this is the theory part of it, where we look at the different interest rates and we try to rank the debt in terms of which is the highest interest to the lowest interest, and we take care of it from that point of view, or debt consolidation. These are different types of debt methods that I suggest.
So with respect to the avalanche method and the interest rate, snowball, you're trying to pay off your smallest debt first. Is it that with the avalanche, you go to the largest interest rate debt first and work your way down?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And of course, consolidation is where you try to probably take a loan and put everything together and make one monthly payment towards clearing that off.
Yes. And, it's not my most favorite solution, but I realize that most of my clients have cash flow issues. Some of my clients, they're just so burdened with debt, they're living month to month. And the debt consolidation method is one in which will give them additional cash flow to breathe so they can live a little bit more comfortable, and they are taking care of this one loan that they might have taken out to take care of all the other debts that they might have had.
Right. And with respect to the cash flow issue, because it seems as if in Tobago in particular, we may have many people with that month-to-month way of living, especially people with lower incomes and who may have gotten caught up, with borrowing to build, borrowing for lifestyle. Let's just say that maybe some made bad decisions, some did not, but you end up in a rut. When you take this, if you're not able to access a consolidation loan, what do you have recommendations for those kinds of people who are particularly in a cash flow problem where you really don't have liquid cash at the end of the month, to take care of what you need to take care of? Is it that they just have to bite the bullet, or are there options?
Well, the options that I would have presented earlier, we would definitely have to start from there if debt consolidation is not an issue. So we look at ways to cut costs. We look at ways to increase your income. Now, when I say increase income, I don't mean find another job per se. I mean, if we have that option, then that would obviously be the best one. But every little bit counts. So as I would have mentioned, what can you monetize? What skill can you monetize? As little as it is, cutting somebody's yard, selling some vegetables, or combing someone's hair, or babysitting. All of these things, right, can contribute to cutting down your debt. And as I mentioned before, it's a season, right, in your life where you just have to decide, okay, I really want my debt to reduce, and I'm going to do all that it takes to get it done. What I realize about a lot of people is they sit down on skills that can clearly be monetized, and time management is also an issue. Why persons cannot monetize more of their time and more of their skills. So as I said, I would go to those options to people who don't have the debt consolidating choice. Yeah.
Okay, so a big thing, time management, knowing yourself in terms of being able to identify what skills you may have that you can monetize as you explore, how to manage your debt. Now, I know you said you don't like the debt consolidation aspect. Is it because that's actually a loan? And I'm asking that in the sense that a lot of people, strange enough, who still have debt, they have issues about taking a loan. So some people have issues between, let's say, a bank and a credit union. I have found a lot of people here in Tobago will say they will swear by a credit union. They will say they prefer to be in the credit union. And then I say, well, when you look at how the credit union charges interest rates, it might be higher than some of the banks, but they're still, they're still into that because there's this perception that the bank is a big shark. Do you have a view on credit union versus banks?
I think people are more comfortable with credit union because, being a part of a credit union, you have ownership, you feel like it's more for the people kind of a vibe. But it depends on the products that you decide to use. I would go between banks and credit union because in certain cases, the banks may offer a higher interest rate. In certain cases, the credit union might offer a lower one. So it depends on the interest rates, on what they are offering the client. So those are the things I would consider. I wouldn't say go to the banks. I wouldn't say go to the credit union. I would say look around, shop around. Just as we shop around when we buy normal things, you shop around when you engage in financial practices as well.
Right. Because there are also those people who feel like, if you're getting a mortgage, you might be better off getting it from one other than the other. But let me ask you this. For those people who don't believe in taking a loan at all, what is your take? What's your take on people who say avoid loans from financial institutions? So they might take a loan from a friend, they might join a susu, but they don't want to deal with a financial institution at all.
Well, the thing is, right now, if you take out a loan and you are using it to invest it in an appreciating asset, then I would say, yes, go for it. Because the thing is, sometimes we want to engage in profitable products or profitable projects, and that will yield very quick returns, and we don't have the cash flow, right? And friends and family might not have the cash flow that you need to engage in that kind of a project. So if you have access to the bank's capital to be able to invest it in that project, then why not? The problem is when we take loans for depreciating assets and we don't have a plan, right? How are we going to pay back? That is where the problems lie. So I see people take out loans for weddings, people take out loans just because, or they want an additional something. And that is where the problem lies, because essentially you want to be strategic about your debts. If I'm taking out a loan, whatever I'm spending that money on should be able to pay back the loan. So it's not a burden to me. So it's all about just being strategic. And I mean, I understand some of us don't have the luxury of having cash flow to do certain things. For example, myself. And when I'm talking from experience too, because I would have came out of university with a lot of debt. I started working and I was struggling to work and I was struggling to pay back my loans and to live. And, I took it out for school. But at the end of the day, I decided that I was going to make sure that my degree was able to get me a job so I could pay back for that loan. So it depends on what you're taking out the loan for. Loans are not necessarily a bad thing.
Now, the thing is as well, in our society, in the past, we used to look at particularly some of the Western societies, North America, and say, well, when young people get to upper high school and college, university, the banks there, they send them credit cards and so on. And, we used to get a kick out of that. And then some years ago, our banking system, commercial banking system, changed slightly. We didn't send credit cards out to people, but what happened is that they offered you no collateral loans, especially for first-time workers, right? Now, some of us who are much older, we already ended up there, either did it well or didn't do it too well. What do you say to some of those younger people who are coming up now that and this is hearing you talk about, appreciating versus depreciating assets when you're taking out a loan. The bank is saying, hey, you just started work, you're on contract, whatever, you have no loans, you're still living home, hold a 30,000, take a 30,000 for Carnival, take a 30,000 for Christmas. And they may just get excited by that. What do you say to that kind of thing, particularly for new young people?
Honestly, what I would love to do is I want young people to start thinking about being comfortable with investing their money rather than getting comfortable with paying back a loan. As a society, you find persons will be willing to take out that $30,000 and pay back $2,000 every month just to pay back that loan. And they are not comfortable with taking that $2,000 to invest that money in investment products. So I really wish that the mindset of our people, or young people especially, they will get more comfortable, become more comfortable with investing their money rather than paying back a loan. And when I say investing, I don't even mean the stock market. I'm not even talking about that far. There are simple investment products that you can put money in every month. I ain't talking about a lump sum, talking about a $500 every month, and over years, if you keep adding to those accounts, you will see the benefits of compound interest working on your behalf. So let me just also say this: it is good to some extent to have a credit history, because you may need that in the future, because banks would not trust you with a large sum of money if you really don't have a credit history. But I would caution persons as to the products that they use when they are, trying to build their credit history. Having a credit card is not a bad thing. People see credit card as a devil, but you have to know how to use a credit card strategically. And you can win from using a credit card, and you can use a credit card to build your credit history. You just have to know how to use it. So just to tie everything up, right? Getting involved with these financial institutions, it is a good thing to build your credit, but be strategic about it. If you take out your credit card and you use it smart, you're also working on building your credit. But try to become more comfortable with investing your money monthly rather than paying back a loan monthly.
Yeah, and I want to come to the investment in a bit, but before we go there, building the credit history, an extremely important thing right now for people who are coming up right now. When I entered the job world and opened my first bank account as just after being a teenager, nobody told us anything about those kinds of things. However, now I know several people who went, let's say, to get a loan for a motor vehicle. And because even though they've never had a loan before and they have no debt to their name, the bank literally told them, hey, go and take out something on hire purchase, go by one of those stores and take out something on terms so that you can build a credit history. And you are saying now, another option to do that is also using a credit card. Of course, you got to be disciplined. But can you speak to why it is important to build a credit history now in these financial times?
Well, you see, the thing is, institutions need to have some record of your history to determine how they're going to deal with you. And one of the ways they do that is by looking at how responsible you are at handling loans and managing your credit. So in order to be able to be trusted with a huge amount of capital, you need to have some kind of history, some kind of information for them to be able to like, okay, this person is good at managing their credit, right? So that is why it's important. Like being young, you're not going to see the importance of it when you now come out of school and you just start working. But eventually when you want to get a business loan or you want to, as you said, buy a vehicle, that is when it's going to come into play. So it's just to be strategic about it. So why I recommended a credit card is because to me, that is, you could basically, and I don't want to say this, I know we're on air, so I can't say, you could be strategic, I'll use that word, about it. So you use your credit card to pay all your bills, and then you just take the money from your checking account or your expense account and you put it right back on your credit card. Right. So you are using credits and you are building your history, and you're not at risk at paying high interest.
Right, yeah. Because I have a friend, the only person I've ever known with that amount of discipline. She's a few years older than I am, and she's been like that for a very long time. There's no minimum payment with her. Eh? She uses the credit card and she just pays it off. Yeah. she pays it off. Unfortunately, the time when I figured that out was years much long after I had given back a credit card to the financial institution. I say, well, okay, I am not going to use any more credit. I will use my own money. That was before thinking about business, because when you think about business, you may have a different mindset. But personally, I had just given it back until I realized that I had a close friend who was really, really doing the thing, but she had the help.
And before we move on, credit cards are amazing, because I travel based on my points. There are times I don't pay for tickets at all because of how much I use my credit card and the kind of points I would have accumulated. It builds up enough for me to travel for free. So, and then sometimes you can redeem points at the grocery, etc. So there are perks. You just have to be strategic about how you use your credit card.
Yeah, so it's all about knowing what you want and how to get it. Now, with respect to investment, and time is flying on us here, let's talk a little bit about investing, particularly if I am in debt. Can I invest in anything at all?
what I will tell my clients is you better invest in that too. You better take that money that you itching to invest and invest in your debt. Because I would have given this analogy on Facebook at one point. I mentioned a watering can, and I was talking about the fact that you are trying to, so the watering can will represent your financial portfolio. And while you are trying to invest, put water in the watering can, your debt will be the holes at the bottom of the watering can. So you trying to invest to make money on your investment, and your debt basically leaking all the returns that you would have been getting on this investment.
Right. It's counterproductive.
So, yes. So invest in your debt. Just pay it off. Because when you're paying off your debt, that's what you're doing. Investment is having your money work for you. That is the definition of what investment is. And if you decide that you're going to use your money now to get rid of all this extra interest that you're paying, then that is your money working for you. So invest in your debt, get rid of it, and then start investing in other products. Again, I will also say it depends on the investment too, because if it's a quick return, which is a risk, very, very risky in this time, then I may consider it. But the best advice is take care of your debt first.
Yeah. The higher and faster the return, the much more risk is involved. And the interesting
circles. We saw that with the blessing circles, right?
Precisely. But that's the thing I was coming to in terms of the society now. And I mean, I suppose we can't knock people when they're under pressure, but people are in so much debt continually based on the kind of society, particularly here in Tobago, that you find, I don't know, I call this a plague. It's like a curse on our little island. People rush to all of these fast money schemes like wildfire. And it seems as if, it's a perpetual cycle. You just get lick up in one, and you're going in the next one, and you're going in the next one. And then you have people who, they come out and they present themselves as business people offering you a business opportunity. For me, I don't knock people hustle too much. I say, if you get it into that, just understand what the risks are, the associated risk. You can lose, and you can lose fast and hard. So you have to know that. And then for you to win, you're ripping off somebody else. So you have to be comfortable with that as well. Now, these are all things I suppose people can come and discuss with a professional like yourself. So let's talk a little bit about accessing these types of professional services, financial advisors, financial coaching. You made it a point to highlight both advisor and coaching. Is it because in your practice, there's a difference in what those two things are?
Yes. So let's talk about coaching first. So with coaching, just as a sports coach, you are there to provide strategy, to cheer your players on, to make sure that they're using the tools to win. That is what a financial coach would do. So I meet with my clients, we plan goals. We set up system. This is how we get into these goals. And we check in when we hit milestones, we rejoice and we move forward with other goals. Also with coaching, I try to make them aware of all the possibilities that are out there in terms of trying to get them to meet their goals. And we use the most strategic one. With financial advising, it's more a client will come to me and I will say, okay, let's look at your portfolio, and an assessment will be done and red flags will be highlighted. And then we work on moving forward with using financial products to fill some of the gaps identified. As a coach, I do it holistically. So I say, okay, we need a savings account. Let's see which is the best savings account to meet the goal that we are trying to do, to accomplish. So, yeah.
All right. So there you have it. There's a difference between the coaching and the financial advising. And so if you listen to this podcast episode, you will get to decide, where you want to start. Of course, you can contact Crystal. Crystal, drop your social media handles, how people can contact you personally in case they need more information or they would like to access your services.
Okay, you can call me 738-2416, or you can just look me up on Facebook, Crystal Celestine, and on Instagram, it's Crystal Celestine as well. So inbox me, WhatsApp me, and then we can go from there.
All right. And there you have it. We've had this podcast episode on managing personal debt with financial advisor, financial coach, Crystal Celestine, so that after you've listened to this episode, you will be able to handle your business.
Handle Your Business, a weekly podcast discussing a little of this and a little of that. Handle Your Business appropriately blends serious topics with fun topics, all in an effort to help you have a good or better life. So join me, your host, Lady Lashley, and some amazing guests every Sunday at 5 p.m. to explore everything from financial management to dealing with relationship challenges. Put it in your calendar every Sunday from 5 p.m. Tune in to Handle Your Business for a very helpful half hour to get you ready for the week ahead. For more details, follow at Lady Lashley TT on Instagram and Facebook. Handle Your Business.